At RxBar, they believe in simple nutrition without the BS. That's why they said no to artificial ingredients and yes to deliver intentional, transparent nutrition. Try their original 12-gram protein bar, the nut butter and oat bar, or minis. RxBar, the proud sponsor of No BS. Use code RxBar on rxbar.com for 25% off. Subject to full terms and conditions and to change. Valid until September 30, 2025, and may not be combined with other offers. See rxbar.com for full details and limitations.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
That's going to be my question. The most important thing before we move on to what we're doing the rest of this episode is, what is the coolest thing Ellie the elephant did?
I'm going to wait to answer.
We're pausing for a siren.
Ken say you can edit this out, and then when I resume, that will be when you can start it again.
Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, us attending basketball games at MSG's owned Madison Square Garden, to the person on the other end of this call performing at a different MSG-owned facility, the Beacon Theater. It's Adam Amawala. Adam, how is it going?
I did do that.
You did do it.
It's going well. It's been a wild time. Soaking it all in. Shout out to your wife Kelly for joining because of baby duties. Mm-hmm. Obviously, only one person could attend, but supposedly I am Kelly's favorite comedian, so she got to go.
It is an objective, straight up. Every time we talk about it, she's like, "I hope Adam knows that's not a joke. Like, he is my favorite comedian."
And that's very sweet. I still don't believe it, but I believe that she means it, but I still don't believe it.
I fully believe it because I've also watched like other stand-up specials and stuff with her, and she definitely laughed at when you sent me that link for the one you did a couple years back. Like, laughed at that more than anything else we've watched together. So it's legit, straight up, 100%.
Nice, but yes, it was pretty cool. Yeah, if anyone doesn't follow me on social media or didn't see any of this, I got to open for Dane Cook at the Beacon Theater in front of like 2,500 people. So pretty iconic and crazy stuff.
And that place is owned by James Dolan, who owns the Knicks. And just like when you go into MSG, there's a big sign that says, "We're stealing all of your face data," which makes me feel extra good when I wear a mask for COVID reasons. I also get to be protected from James Dolan. I'm assuming he just has like a 3D scan of your entire body.
Probably,
now. Like he can just put you into NBA 2K and just, put a guy with those like ping pong balls all over his unitard. And then it's just like a perfect recreation, an AI at Amawala.
Well, no. You're making it sound cool.
We don't want
to make it seem like it's good. I would love AI me playing in NBA 2K.
AI Mamawala?
Yeah, something like that.
So this is obviously a basketball podcast. We're going to talk about basketball. We got some fun basketball stuff to discuss, but in order to discuss that basketball, we got to go to the Teal Memorial locker room, a very fitting place since the main portion of this episode will be talking about jerseys. The laundry facilities at the Teal Memorial locker room, top notch.
I would think so. They would have to be.
Mm-hmm. And you know what else is top notch?
Probably our patrons. Some of the best people in the world, really.
Yep, undisputed best people on earth, completely objectively. But yes, shout out to all of our patrons, and shout out to specifically our producer level patrons: Polly Burridge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curry for $62.6 million.
Bangalangalang!
Hi Trish, Chase, Underoos, Love Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby as a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Balls, and Mats Furley.
Yes, and a special shout out to Nicole Shepard, formerly Nicole Arsenault, who lives in New Mexico and who unfortunately was out of town when I was just out there doing a bunch of shows, but gave me some incredibly helpful food recommendations, many of which I took advantage of. And shout out to Nicole. Thank you so much for the food recs. I am still recovering from the amount of delicious New Mexican food that I ate, but also no regrets.
Hell yeah. You know what else I don't have any regrets about?
opening tabs because it's a good thing when you do it, even if people like you don't, you know?
Exactly. I do. I just close them all out at the end of the day.
Okay.
So our sponsor for this episode is Tab for a Cause. You can go to tab4acause.org/horse, and within a couple of clicks, you can get it installed in your browser. What happens is every time you open a tab on your browser, and it works with multiple types of browsers, you get a pretty picture, whether that is a nature background or an architecture photo or something, and then you might see some ads in the corner, but those ads help raise money for charity, and you get to pick what charities get supported. They have a bunch of different ones they choose from. Sometimes they do timely things based on what's going on in the world, and you can channel opening tabs into good. We'll do our classic tab check. Adam, how many tabs do you have open? I have 2.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Pretty light day for me.
Yeah. We'll have to see. We'll have to maybe one day do like an experiment, because Tab for a Cause will like track the number of tabs. I wonder if I go through more tabs even though I have less open at the same time. Because I'm always closing them out, I'm probably opening more tabs. Yeah. So I'm putting more good into the world. Ooh, but if you want to put good into the world by just using the internet, go to tabforacause.org/horse today, get it installed, and start raising money for charity, because why not?
Valid question.
Now, unless you are listening on Patreon, where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors, make it feasible for us to not be losing money making this podcast. So you will hear those, but then when they're complete, you get back into this episode of Horse. Unless you're listening on Patreon, it'll just do a 0.5 second delay, and then we'll keep on talking. Adam, we're back. What do you want to talk about going on in your fantastic world?
Yeah, well, I do have some updates, because in a fortuitous turn of events, I'm going to be doing some more theater gigs with Dane Cook, which it sounds like a wild thing to say out loud, but that is what's happening.
Is it hard for you to not like quote things from him from earlier? Because he was like, when I was in 7th grade, when his comedy was at its meteoric rise, I and my friends would just recite Dane Cook jokes to each other. I feel like it would be so hard to instinctively not say things that he said to him.
Well, I did actually reference one of his jokes when introducing him in a story that I told.
Did you do, by a round of applause, how do you feel? Because that's another one.
No, I told a story about the fact that when I started comedy, like Dane Cook was essentially my frame of reference for what comedy was. And while I admired him, I was getting feedback from people that was like, hey, you're funny, but you keep doing Dane Cook, like stop doing that and try to actually sound like yourself, because that was just like what I thought a comedian talked like. Totally. And so before my first open mic, the guy that I was doing comedy with at the time, his word of advice, like his kind of code for saying like don't act like Dane Cook, was to like grab me by the shoulders and be like, hey, when you get up there, don't shit on the coats. And I was like, understood.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Very good.
Also, Dane Cook invented Karen. People don't know that. He like invented the term Karen.
Whoa, a visionary.
It's from his second album, I think, where he refers to like there's always a Karen in every group and she's always a douchebag.
Oh, it's from that.
Yeah, that's the origin of that.
I didn't realize that was the origin. I thought it was just a coincidence. Cool.
No. It's, as far as I know, that is the origin. But anyway, to answer your question in a less long-winded way, I haven't gotten to spend that much time with him. Presumably, I will in the coming month. But the weirdest thing is just like hearing his voice, because I've heard that voice so many times in my head that to hear it talking to me, it's like my brain has to adjust to it. But yes, I'm going to try to not quote his own jokes to him, because I feel like that would be weird. Also, he probably doesn't even remember some of them that I do, because he's been doing this for 30 years. But all that to say that this is what I'm scheduled to be doing. So if you are listening to this when it comes out, this coming Thursday, which is October 10th, I will be opening for Dane at the Kodak Center in Rochester, New York. Then on Friday, the 11th, I'll be at the Hershey Theater in Hershey, Pennsylvania. A city that literally smells like chocolate. I don't know if you know that, but
it truly does. I was there for Green Day. It legit smells like chocolate. Yeah. Also, we just passed Green Day, which is when you get to say, wake me up when September ends, when it actually ends. That happened a couple nights ago. I saw them, I think the show was September 1st. So before he did the song, he went, it's about that time again.
It is about that time. I'm very excited about this one. On Saturday, October 12th, I will be at the Met in Philadelphia, which is like one of the coolest venues in the world. Also opening for Dane. Then on Friday the 18th, I will be at Blue Collar Brewery in Poughkeepsie, New York. Surprisingly not opening for Dane Cook. He does bigger venues, but I will be there by myself headlining. Then on the weekend of the 24th through 26th, I will be in Akron, Columbus, and Cincinnati, respectively. Those are shows opening for Dane in a bunch of big venues. And then I've got a bunch of solo stuff. So in November, I'll be headlining the Arlington Draft House in the DC, Northern Virginia area. That is Thursday, November 7th. I'll be in Frederick, Maryland on Sunday the 10th. Erie, Pennsylvania, December 5th. Pittsburgh, December 6th and 7th. Connecticut, December 13th and 14th. Then I've got Chicago on January 12th. Boulder, Colorado, February 21st and 22nd. And more dates coming up all the time because this is what I do.
Hell yeah.
What about you?
How
was New York?
Stuff coming through. New York was great. It was a fun time. A lot of people came through, which was very nice. And I got some new stuff coming up. So as this episode comes out, the Toronto show will have just happened. So hopefully everyone enjoyed there. But got shows coming up in Boston, New Orleans, Dallas, Philly, Vienna, Virginia. So we rescheduled that DC show because of a medical situation, which is all good. Everything's chill there. But that's going to be now on December 3rd. And then Austin, Texas on December 16th. And then I'm in the process of booking tours in 2025. Going to try to do some Canada stops in March and then Midwest US stops in April because I haven't been there in a little bit.
Nice.
So should be good. I think I will be able to attend a Minnesota Timberwolves game due to scheduling because it was like, oh, this date's not free. Is this okay with you? And I Googled it and I was like, yes, I can stay an extra day in Minneapolis. No problem, sir. So that's on the horizon.
Similar thing, but the Sunday that I'm headlining Zanies, the Bulls have a 2:30 p.m. game against the Timberwolves. Or no, I'm sorry, against the Kings. So I think I'm going to try to go.
Delicious.
Then again, by that point, I might be so annoyed at the Bulls that I don't even want to watch them. But anyway.
Yeah, I would be there. It would be like the last week of the season. So it'll either be like a very high stakes game that's important or the Timberwolves will be sitting everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be very interesting. But no, an afternoon game before shows was fun. I did that in San Antonio. I saw Wemby before doing my Potterless and TNO show. But yeah, you can get tickets to all those shows at schub.es/tour. And then all of them are TNO except for the New Orleans show that's half TNO, half Potterless. So that's what's on the docket for me. But I think now we can get into, we'll get into Full Court Press, Get It Like the News, and NB Q&A is going to be looped into one of the things that we discuss. So let's get into Full Court Press, Get It Like the News.
I do.
So there's a lot of news. Let's get the saddest out of the way first. Yeah. Dikembe Mutombo, an absolute legend in terms of on-the-court stuff and off-the-court stuff. He was a basketball ambassador to the NBA. I think he did a lot of those programs in Africa, like with the BAL, like him and Hakeem Olajuwon have done a lot to try to grow the game.
Yeah.
He unfortunately passed away at the age of 58 from brain cancer. I guess it must be like a Chadwick Boseman thing where he kept it on the down low because I don't think I heard anything about this. And I love Dikembe a lot.
I had not. I think maybe people who were like more closely involved with the Nuggets organization knew that was going on. But yeah, it was shocking to read that, and someone who certainly seemed larger than life, both literally and like figuratively. But from everything I have ever heard about that guy, just an incredibly like generous, kind and loving and like joyful person. And it sucks when something like that happens, especially when somebody's so young. His son posted a lovely tribute to him that we can share a link to, just talking about how much he admired the man that his dad was, not even for basketball, but just for the wonderful person that he was. So we're going to do a, probably that actually happened, just about like the life of Dikembe Mutombo, his basketball career, his work off the court, and arguably one of the greatest commercials of all time.
The Geico commercial is top tier, and I think he's got the best commercial, the Geico commercial. He's got the best NBA celebrity mean tweet where they said, if the guy who does the voice of Cookie Monster ever dies, it's okay because Dikembe Mutombo can fill in.
Also totally valid tweet.
So fun. Yeah. And I would also say he's got one of my favorite like unhinged basketball thing where he fully believes every foul that was ever called against him was incorrect. Like I think I went to a Rockets game once where they they did like, I think it was at a Rockets game. It was one of those like in between quarter things, or maybe I saw it somewhere else, but I feel like there was an interview with Dikembe Mutombo and they were like, Dikembe, you've said in the past that like you don't think any foul was ever correct against you. Do you think that's true, or were you kidding? And he's like, no, I think it's true. Like he really doesn't think he ever fouled anyone. I respect it so much. So
there was also an interesting LeBron interview where they were asking him like, what's your favorite Dikembe Mutombo memory? I don't know if you saw this. And he was like, when I was a rookie, I went driving into the lane and I got a Dikembe elbow and he broke my face, and that's my favorite memory. He literally used the term, he broke my face.
Amazing.
Interesting favorite memory.
Deke. He's just universally beloved. If anyone ever said they didn't like him, I would really worry about that person. So
that's on
he
them.
will forever go down as a legend, and we will tribute him in some way in a future episode whenever we have like the space to do that actually happened. So shout out to Deke and wishing nothing but the best to him and his family. Now, let's go on to another, I guess, kind of sad but more confusing thing. ESPN fired Zach Lowe, undisputed #1 NBA analyst / writer / podcaster Zach Lowe.
It feels like there's something more to that we don't
It is.
know.
They basically said it's a pure money move because he's so good that his salary is like over $1 million a year, which if you are ESPN and you are in this situation now where you don't really care about the ESPN is now, and Bill Simmons actually did a really good episode of his podcast about this recently because he used to work at ESPN and he's always curious about like them as the company and just wondering where they're going from like a production standpoint. It seems like they're going in the direction where they're spending all of their money on like having the actual games be on their channel, whereas before they were just like the highlights people. And like it was, he pointed out like ESPN used to be the place you had to watch the game somewhere else, but then you would go to ESPN because you were like, oh, I love Stuart Scott and I love Scott Van Pelt and I want to hear them. So it used to be this place where you went for the people. Now it's a place where you go for the games, and where they're spending all of their money is on the rights. You know, they're getting more for the NBA this year. They're getting the Super Bowl. They are like re-upping for UFC. Like they're getting, to be honest,
that seems like a good business decision because like ESPN was the sports news the same way that like people used to sit down at 6:30 p.m. every night to watch Peter Jennings tell the nightly news. Like, yes, some people like my parents still watch the news every night. What's up, Mom, if you're listening? No shade, just saying. But most people now, I think, get news from a variety of sources. They get news from Twitter, and they get news from whatever app that they use for it. So, like, it's not as concentrated. And I think for ESPN, sports really are one of the only things that people watch live anymore. So I have to assume that the advertising money they can get from that is more than the, I would figure, fairly diminished numbers of people watching SportsCenter, because other than like Scott Van Pelt having his own SportsCenter, there's not really a draw the way there used to be, where it's like, I have to see Stuart Scott, or I have to see this, or I have to see that to like know what happened in sports.
Right. It just seems like that's the direction they're going in, and Lowe makes a lot of money, so they were like, no, thank you. What's weird, and this is just me from podcast brain, like the Lowe Post is a very, very popular podcast where they have a lot of opportunity to sell a lot of advertisements, and they could be doing a better job with it, it seems like. And that's like, to me, like the writing thing, I get it, because even though he's an NBA insider, you have to pay extra to read his articles. Like, I don't think there's $1 million worth of people, you know, signing up for ESPN Plus to read Zach Lowe's stuff. And yes, he's on TV, but like, let's be honest, he is too smart and analytical to where like he's not like Stephen A. Smith, who just like says things that are untrue, or Kendrick Perkins, who's just like, I think Luka is bad at basketball, and then everyone gets like rage clicks. So he's not doing that kind of buzz. So I get it, but like his podcast is incredibly popular. So that's like the wildest angle of it, just to like let that go.
So now is he going to be like a Bill Simmons, where like he'll just continue it under some other platform or do his own thing? Do we know yet?
From someone who listens to every single episode of that podcast, it is very much Zach Lowe he doesn't want to do anything except for like have the conversations. So I think we're not going to get an episode of a podcast from him until he gets inevitably scooped up by The Ringer or someone else.
Right.
He will find his way somewhere else because he's so good that like a company that cares about the content will pick him up. And I think that's just like the shift. You have some companies that are more focused on like the actual content as opposed to the sports, especially places that don't stream the television like The Ringer. So I could see him getting picked up by a place like that. I hope it happens soon because the Low Post is my favorite podcast, period.
Yeah.
I love it a lot, and I'm very sad that it's not around because there's a huge Knicks trade that happened. Look at this transition.
The big Purr. From Big Perk to Big Purr.
Purr. So the New York Knickerbockers, my beloved New York Knickerbockers, have made a trade to land Karl Anthony Towns on the team. And this makes sense because in between the last episode of Horse we recorded and this one, Mitchell Robinson, our starting center, who is going to be basically our only center because Isaiah Hartenstein got paid so much money to live in Oklahoma City. They had to pay you sure you don't want to come here instead of living in New York some more? Tax, which shout out, look, they had it. It's much like the Kevin Durant thing where the Warriors just had a bunch of money that they could give to someone. It makes sense for the Thunder to open the truck.
Let me tell you something, though. Quick segue or side note. With Hartenstein and Caruso adding to that existing team, the Thunder are going to be fun and tough and really, really, really good.
There's a reason why everyone is picking them to be the number one seed, at least in the regular season. People are still wondering if the young guys will bring it in the playoffs, but like regular season, it's a pretty surefire bet that I think they're going to be the number one seed. They got a great roster. Yeah. Anyway, the New York Knickerbockers then made a trade for Karl Anthony Towns. And the main component is that we traded away Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. And in return, we got Karl Anthony Towns. And it is sad to lose Dante. It's sad to lose Julius from a emotional perspective, but it is not sad to lose him from a basketball perspective because we traded for OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, we have enough people who can play Julius's main position of power forward, the 4. Julius could like kind of be a small ball center, but like it's not really what he's good at. It's not really what Tom Thibodeau wants to do with his team and his defensive schemes. So it wouldn't have been perfect. And then with Mitchell Robinson being out, it says until January, which means February.
Right.
It's just like, it was going to be tough to just be running like Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims and small ball Julius Randle. So like everyone knew we kind of probably needed to trade Julius Randle based off of fit. And I guess for the Timberwolves, they're doing it because of money reasons, because Karl Anthony Towns makes a lot of money. They're already paying Rudy Gobert a lot of money. They will start having to pay Anthony Edwards a lot of money very soon. And they're also in their weird owner situation that we covered with the Tipping Pitches boys of like, you got A-Rod and the other guy coming in and not having enough money. So like, they're not going to be the type of ownership group like the Warriors were in the past to be like, sure, we'll just write whatever check it is and pay whatever luxury tax we have to keep the team together. So the writing was on the wall that the Timberwolves needed to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns at some point. The writing was on the wall that the Knicks were probably not enamored with keeping Julius Randle around. I think a lot of people were surprised that this trade happened before the season started. It kind of seemed like both teams were going to be like, let's see how it goes first. But I can also see why a team would want to just like have it all taken care of so that you can start the season right away with your team and not have to deal with any sort of drama and adjusting and, and having a full training camp to integrate them makes sense. So I get it.
And because of Randall getting injured last year, like the Knicks already kind of know how to play without him. So there's that element of it. I do wonder.
Another underrated thing is Julius Randle might not be able to play at the start of the season. So like we might have had like one center and not even any pretend centers. Like it could have been really, really dire.
Do you buy into the idea that after like assembling the Infinity Stones of the Nova Boys, then trading one is going to like mess with the vibes, and
I don't
like Brunson
think so.
and Bridges and Hart are going to be like bummed out about it?
I don't think so, because all of those guys seem like very mature about it. Like obviously they're all very excited when everyone was on the team, but I've seen enough interviews, especially after they got Mikal Bridges, when they asked the guys like, are you so excited that he's on the team? And they're all like, yeah, it's really cool. Like where I think they all kind of recognize like it's a business, this could happen. They were all excited, but I think they are mature and smart enough to recognize like you never really know. So I don't think it's going to like completely wreck the vibe. And it just like, I would also just think people like get it. Also for Dante, I don't think he's going to be that mad because he was kind of going to have to come off the bench. He's probably going to start in Minnesota. So like, I don't think he's going to be that upset. He's on a really cheap contract right now. Part of the reason why the Timberwolves really wanted him and part of why he was like an enticing piece of the trade for the Knicks to get it done. I think he's going to really want to be in a position where he plays really well so that when this contract ends, he can then get the big bucks because he's like criminally underpaid. We are paying him a contract that's called like the mid-level exception, which is, I want to say like $15 million a year.
Which by NBA terms is nothing.
Right. By the way he played last year, he was third in the entire NBA in three-pointers made. He shot like 41 or 42% from three. He should be making like $25 million a year. So he's going to want to be in a position where he's like a starter so that when his contract's over, he's like, give me the big bucks right now. Right. So I don't think he's going to be too upset about it.
Yeah, and also he has a moment that is like etched into Knicks history forever. Like obviously they didn't win it all last year, but the three-pointer and the subsequent double bang in that wild comeback against Philly, like that's always going to be part of the history. My final question for you on this before we move on. I don't think Cat has done his introductory press conference yet. Which voice do you think he'll use?
I think the high-pitched one, because that's his real voice, and I think he is going to embrace... I think he's going to be okay just like being himself. He's from the New York City area. He's from New Jersey. He's been on a team with Coach Thibodeau before. And I think it's going to be a good thing for him to not be like the guy. When he was in the Timberwolves, he was like the guy. And there was all this pressure for him to be the guy. And then he had to go through this weird process of like, well, we've traded a lot for Rudy Gobert, and now Anthony Edwards is the guy. I think just like, it's like, you look, Jalen Brunson's the dude. You just got to make threes and try to get some rebounds and play a little bit of defense. We have all these other iconic, incredible defenders around you. Like, it's truly, that's what scares me about this trade, is that like, it's a great on paper trade. Like, it's one that just makes sense. We don't have a center. We have a lot of good defensive players at every other position. Karl-Anthony Towns is not great at defense, but like, everything should make sense. However, if it doesn't work, it'll blow up spectacularly. So like, I think this is either going to be like,
and that'll
amazing,
be entertaining in its own way.
It'll either be like, unreal, and the Knicks are the number one seed and we're awesome, or it's like, it just sucks and it completely ruined everything. I'm scared.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah, I was nervous at first, and then after 50 seconds, I was like, we're going all the way. So I think it's gonna work. I'm excited about it. And a fun thing that happened, and this is the MB Q&A, a couple different people asked about this. The Knicks are doing like a very tricky thing to make this happen. So there's a new situation in the CBA that's currently in place in the NBA, the collective bargaining agreement, which is the agreement between the owners and the teams and the players and everything. There's restrictions put in place to try to like penalize teams who are just spending a bunch of money to make it harder for them, like in a basketball sense, to operate. Because you had teams in the past, like the Warriors, who were just paying a bunch of money, and they could because they were doing well and based out of San Francisco, so they had a bunch of money, and that's not fair, quote unquote, which I think is bullshit, because we're just talking about different billionaires. Like, it's not fair to like a small market team who doesn't make as much money. Like, oh, I'm sorry, their billionaire doesn't want to spend as much money as the other billionaire. I couldn't care less. But there are things that now, if you go over a certain payment threshold, it makes things harder. There's these things called the aprons. There's the first apron, and if you pass that, you have these different stipulations. And then if you pass the second apron, it's like really hard. Your draft pick gets dropped down to 30th place no matter what. Like, there's all sorts of things. So to avoid that complication, the Knicks have been like doing stuff in prep for a trade like this for months. And here are two tweets from Fred Katz, who used to report for the Knicks and now just reports for all of the NBA. And here's what he said about it. The Knicks have discovered a new loophole in the CBA. Teams in their situation cannot aggregate minimums anymore. So if you're doing a trade, like the dollar amounts have to add up, and you can't add up minimum salaries anymore. Something that's supposed to make it harder so that you have to trade like better guys. Okay. So that you can't aggregate. So if you had, say, you're trading for someone who makes $10 million and just like pretend the NBA minimum is $2 million, you can't trade 5 minimum guys for one $10 million guy. You would have to get to 10 million from other contracts.
They can be included, but they won't be part of the tally.
Right.
Like, they can be part of the trade, but it wouldn't count towards the balance.
You just can't like, by saying you cannot aggregate them, I think you can put in like one minimum guy in a trade. You can't like stack them to get to the number. So continuing Fred's tweet, what the Knicks did, this is me saying it, what the Knicks did is sign in trades, where basically you sign a guy to a new contract and then you immediately trade him. And you can do this during the offseason. So Fred says, quote, in the sign in trades of Jeffries, Brown, and Washington, 3 of the players that the Knicks did to make the contracts line up, Jeffries, Brown, and Washington, they are paying each of those guys $1 above the minimum, league sources say. So if the NBA minimum
system, really,
is $2 million, we're signing all these guys to brand new $2 million and $1 contracts and then trading them so that we can just get it. And then Fred followed up. I've heard from various people that the league isn't thrilled about this, but such is the way it goes with the new CBAs. The NBA tries to close up loopholes, and then smart people working for teams find new ones. Right. So basically, we're like a person playing a board game that's really read the rule book very thoroughly, and we found some cheeky bullshit to break through, and I love it. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I also love that it was someone with the last name Katz reporting on Kat.
Yeah. So it was an interesting trade where like part of the sign-in trade was like one of our guys was gonna go play overseas, but we like it was a lot of complicated things to make it work, but we made it work, and now we're like under the second apron, so we're not hitting a lot of penalties. So that was our MBQ&A of the Knicks did some tricky bullshit, and I absolutely love it.
As you should, man. It's an exciting time to be a Knicks fan. I am, as everyone would anticipate, not as excited to be a Bulls fan, but we'll get to that on our next episode, which is, believe it or not, going to be the drama draft. We're already at that time, so something to look forward to for next episode. However, our final thing on Full Court Press is going to be not the NBA, but the WNBA, because things are cooking, things are heating up. I had the great fortune of attending Game 2 of the Liberty Aces series, which the Liberty won in fairly dramatic fashion. They ended up winning, I guess, by, I think it was 4. So the Liberty are now up 2-0, attempting to knock the Aces out of the playoffs and avenge their finals loss from last year. This would also prevent the Aces from their three-peat, which, of course, everybody was on the lookout for. However, Games 3 and Game 4, if it gets to that, will be in Vegas. So it would not surprise me at all to see the series come back to New York for a decisive Game 5. In the other series, we've got a 1-1 split right now. The Lynx and the Sun. The Sun won the first game by 3. The Lynx won the second game by 7. So now it's heading back to Connecticut for Games 3 and 4. I believe, just to make it fun, we chose different things. I definitely picked I said Liberty in 5, and then I think I picked the Sun.
Yeah, and I picked the Lynx and the Aces.
Now, do you think the Aces have a shot at a comeback? I kind of feel like if they win both games in Vegas, then all of the pressure is on the Liberty to win Game 5, and the Aces might win. They could certainly win 3 straight. I wouldn't put it past them, but
they totally can. So I feel less confident in it, but I don't think it's impossible. But the Liberty are looking very good.
They look great.
And the Lynx I think are looking pretty good too. They struggled out the gates in that first game. Nafisa Collier still played well, but they just came up short. And then the second game was more dominant than the final score would make you think. I watched that whole game and the Lynx were up by 11 the whole time, and it just really was never too worrisome for them. And I just got to say, my one little line that I said before our Olympic thing where I said people are soon going to realize how good at basketball Nafisa Collier is aging gracefully, because she's setting all these playoff records for points scored. She is destroying it. She recently won Defensive Player of the Year. I think if there's a world in which A'ja Wilson is not currently in the league, she's the best player this season. But A'ja Wilson scored 1,000 points in a season, which no one's ever done before. It's pretty wild to try to out basketball her at this time, but Nafisa's playing quite well, as are the Lynx. And also we did look good because we predicted that all of the other series would go 2-0 to the higher seeded team, and all 4 of them did.
It was also really cool to be at that matchup because everyone from the Olympics was there. The Aces, I think, have at least 4 players. There's a bunch of people from the US, so they had
4 US players, so and I think A'ja, 1 international.
Yes, A'ja Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, and Kelsey Plum. And then the Liberty have Ionescu, Brianna Stewart. The Liberty also have Phoebish, who I'm pretty sure played for where's
Germany?
I think
she's German.
Yeah. And also, did Vandersloot play for Holland? I would assume.
I don't know if Holland was in the games. I don't know if they qualified for.
But either way, they were 7 Olympians, and just the level was so high. The vibes were fantastic, because usually for the Liberty games they play at the Barclays Center, and it's objectively a better atmosphere than any Nets game I've ever been to. But in the regular season games, they have the lower bowl filled and then a couple sections of the top. For the playoffs, they have everything open. And it wasn't a sellout, but other than the top of Barclays, which is not even worth going to the game anyway, every seat was filled. Electric energy. Ellie was backing it up like you've never seen.
Yes. I was going to ask you, Adam, before we move on to the remainder of this episode, what was the coolest, wildest, most interesting thing that Ellie the Elephant did?
Well, Ellie's entrance is always amazing because she comes out and they do this thing where she like jumps out of the middle of the dancers and then they like shake the camera and make this loud crashing sound. Like she's like, it's hard to describe, but it's like the ground shakes and they move the camera all over the place. And then they play the song. It's like Big Ellie, something like that. I don't know. I'll find the video. But the coolest thing was that she lights a torch at the end. Did you know that? That's like a thing.
I did not. That's cool.
Oh yeah, they bring out this big torch and Ellie lights it and it's an actual flame.
Wow.
But
cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of gyrating, a lot of twirling her elephant tail around in a fairly pretty suggestive manner, if I might say.
I mean, I texted you this, but I do think it's funny that like the strategy behind the success of Ellie the elephant was, what if we had a mascot who fucks? And it's working so well.
Big time. Yeah, she's an icon.
She is, truly. Well, that will conclude Full Court Press. Get it like the news. And now we will move into our very special segment. We're going to be doing a draft. This time we will be drafting the best of the NBA City Edition jerseys for the upcoming 2024-2025 season. And if you are listening to this, you can also go to the Patreon. And if you are a Horse Patreon member at any tier, you can watch us do a video version of this episode. So now, even on the Zoom call, I'm going to hit record and the scary Zoom lady will tell us that recording is in progress and we will do a video version of this. So if you...
so you have the visual aids and you'll be able to fact check how off our descriptions were as two colorblind people attempting to break down colors of jerseys.
So if you're listening to this thinking, gosh, I wish I could see the things they're talking about, you can by going to Patreon. And then we'll also put a link to a tweet that has all of the images. So, you don't have to pay to see the stuff. But if you want it in the easiest way, head on over to the Patreon. It's fun. So now let's discuss these. So we'll just do classic draft. We'll take them one by one.
Yep.
And we'll do our normal way of determining who goes first by doing a rock, paper, scissors. So
okay,
let's get it going. We'll do it rock, paper, scissors, shoot, because we're not monsters.
No, of course. And this is just one. This is not a best of three.
Whoever wins. Okay. No best of three.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh, both scissors. Do it again. Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Haha. Scissors beats cut. Paper. You have been cut. So now I will do my favorite song. Okay, let me share my screen. And here we go. So I'm going to close out of these other tabs so that it's just this. There's no confusion. So here we've got all of the different things. Just for the visual thing on the Patreon here, let me just go through the 4 pictures that we are working with before I make my first selection, which I think is an easy one because there's a clear winner.
Yeah,
with the first pick in the draft, I will be taking the Toronto Raptors Vince Carter retirement jersey thing. It's pretty freaking sweet.
Anything else would have been objectively wrong.
Correct. So I'm also going to be noting down our draft picks here on my phone. So Raptors went number 1. I will be the odd numbers. You'll be the even numbers. So yeah, it's, for people listening, it is the Raptors logo. So they use this logo still, but it's not as prominently, but it was definitely used like throughout the 90s and the early 2000s before their rebrand in like mid 2010s, where it was like a raptor playing basketball.
Right.
But this one, they've slightly changed it because their main logo is like a raptor dribbling. This time it is a raptor doing a Vince Carter through the leg dunk. Specifically, he's wearing a Vince Carter jersey from the era when Vince Carter was on the Raptors.
It's definitely like the dunk contest dunk, like the famous 100%. It's over, ladies and gentlemen, it's over.
It's wild how much like you can see this and know it. Like, it's not just a raptor doing a through the legs dunk, it's a raptor doing the through the legs dunk. It's wild, and shout out to the artist. So it looks really cool. It's black. It's got like purple trimming and like purple zigzag pinstripes like they had on their old school jerseys. So it looks really cool, and it's a great way to honor Vince. I have weird thoughts about the Vince Carter jersey retirement thing since he had such a like bad taste leaving of Toronto. It just feels weird to retire his jersey before Kyle Lowry's, but I guess Kyle Lowry's still in the NBA, so you can't really do it. But they are doing this in honor of him, and I think they're going to do some other stuff. They already like did some things that were going around social media, but the jersey's sick as hell. It's the clear winner, number 1, the Vince Carter Raptor jersey.
Yeah, and we can put up a video to it, but like when they announced that they were retiring his number, Vince Carter was very emotional. And like, I love Vince, and yes, he definitely left in like kind of not great circumstances and there was a lot of bad blood.
I mean, he stopped trying. He intentionally didn't dunk the ball.
But I will say that I am glad that things have kind of come full circle and that the people there embrace him because, like, yes, the end of it was kind of crappy, but he also, I would argue, like, at the same time that the Raptors came into the league, the Vancouver Grizzlies did, and they didn't last. And I think they would have if they had Vince Carter. Like, I really think that he was instrumental in people being interested in the Raptors during those early years. So it's hard to overstate the impact that he had on that franchise. So there you go. All right, my first pick is going to be, we all love the Fiesta color scheme, don't we? I'm going with the San Antonio Spurs. It's pretty simple, but it doesn't really need to be more complicated for me. It's like a crisp white base color with San Antonio written in that old West style bubble lettering with the iconic turquoise and orange accent colors. And then the lettering and the collar around the neck and the sleeves are that same color scheme. But it's like simple, it's clean, it's perfect. I wish I were a Spurs fan because I would buy all of this stuff all the time. The Fiesta style All-Star jerseys, worn in 1996, have always been my favorites ever. And this jersey honors that iconic style beautifully. So that's my top overall pick and number 2 in the draft.
Yeah, the only thing I'm wondering, I'm trying to look, like, these look incredibly similar to the City Edition jerseys that they had last year. It's just, like, very slightly different, which makes me wonder if they're trying to rebrand, which would make me very happy. But, like, all the difference is that the, like, text has an outline around it, and the collars have a black accent instead of the other one. It was, like, orange, white, orange.
That's a fair point. And I should say, we didn't discuss this beforehand, but my objective in trying to rank these was to do my best to not think about previous years' jerseys and be like, I'm just looking at these 30 and being like, which ones do I like the best? That's how I'm doing it.
Yeah. I do think it is a better version of the last one. I think, like, they used to use this font is something important to either the Spurs or San Antonio. I want to say they
it's like a frontier
San Antonio
font is how I describe it.
Well, but I think they used it specifically in, like, the San Antonio World Fair or something. Like, there is a story behind this font. And then this one looks a little bit different than the other one. There's basically just, like, more accenting, like, around the black lettering of San Antonio. There's, like, a light bluish turquoise, and that makes it pop a little bit more. And then there's, like, an orange drop shadow behind it. So it does kind of look like, we just made last year's better. But it does give me a lot of hope that the Spurs might, like, embrace this. It's not like full Fiesta that they had in the 90s, but, like, they need to. The gray and black is so boring. And now that they have Wemby, like, now's the time. Like, give me some new stuff. So this is good because it seems like it's like a soft launch of a girlfriend on Instagram. Like,
just in stories. Like, it's in stories yet. It's not on main.
Yeah. We're just, like, putting it, it's just like this with, like, an emoji. It's not a heart emoji, but it's like a happy looking emoji. It's like a flower or a sunshine. Yeah. All right. That's a good pick for number 2. I like it. So for my second pick, I will actually be going with one that is next to them alphabetically and on the jersey pick. I'm going with the Utah Jazz. I like this one, and this is, again, I am fully convinced that they are going to try to do this as, like, their branding in the future, because the Jazz have done this thing where, like, they did the like black and yellow overly simplistic thing, and they, like, didn't leak it until it was too late to change it, and everyone was like, this sucks, you look like an AAU team. So immediately after they got a bunch of backlash, they were like, hey, here's the City Edition jerseys we're doing for the next 2 seasons. So, like, this jersey design has been in the ether for, like, 2.5 years, because once they started getting bad flack, they're like, we're doing this in 2024, 2025. So it's a purple jersey. It's got the mountains with, like, the light blue in the background, and then it kind of, like, fades into the darker purple. There's, like, light blue accents, and then it's got the Utah diagonally getting smaller font that they used in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s, like the Andre Karolinko years. So this one is kind of like a modernized version of the jersey that they used in, like, the Deron Williams era Utah Jazz, like, late era of Karl Malone and John Stockton, who are both terrible people, but it's like a refreshed version of that Jazz logo and stuff. And I think if they brought that as their jerseys, or at least they wore them a lot, it would be really smart, because their recent ones, when they had, like, the Gordon Hayward era, that was kind of like a modernized version of the older Stockton Malone ones with, like, the Jazz note. They just kind of had different colors instead of the purple and the yellow. It was like the blue, green, yellow. So now I think if they did a modern version of the next phase of them, it would be really cool. So I think this is just cool and clean, and it looks like it could be a normal jersey. Like some of these other ones are like, it's a fun one, but like this just looks like it could be their jersey. It should be their jersey.
That's actually,
so I think similar to your San
I
Antonio pick, that's why I picked
penalized them for that. Is that I actually had Utah as 20 overall. Mainly because like it's a perfectly nice jersey, but to me it's just them not taking any risk whatsoever. And I think part of what I'm trying to reward in this is like people doing something that is outside of the ordinary of like, let's just do a version of a jersey that we've seen 100 times. So it's a kind of a balance of like some people took a risk and it went horribly, but they at least took a risk. So it's like, how do you judge that? Really, obviously it's all subjective, but yeah, I like the jerseys, but I just, to me, they like didn't do anything for me.
I think for me, I know the reason of why they did it. It's because it's so different from their stupid current black and yellow ones that they contractually cannot change. And I just think I just went purely objectively, like, what's the freshest? And I think that this is fresh.
Fair enough. All right. My second pick and fourth overall is the Atlanta Hawks. I really
like
this
is a good
Hawks
one.
jersey. Yeah. So kind of similar vibe to what you're saying about Utah, but this jersey is cool not only because of its color pattern, which is like a combination of old and new. It's a white jersey with two light blue diagonal swaths of color running across it, one at the base and then one across the chest with Hawks written on it in like an old school font. There's not that much going on here, but I really like when these jerseys combine like the new and old style of the team's history, and this one just sort of like really popped for me. And I think it's also the only jersey of all 30 of these that has that kind of coloring where it's like parallel diagonal like stretches of color, which I think just looks really like flashy and fun.
Yeah, the Hawks, this is another one of like, are the Hawks secretly rebranding? Because this is the second time in a row that they've done like a light blue sort of version. They did that last year with their ATL ones. And I think it is a nice look. And I really do enjoy this one because, yes, it's intentional. Like, it's the diagonal thing from the 90s jerseys. It's the font from the 80s jerseys. Like, this is a cool, this is a fun thing to do with the City Edition jerseys. It's like, we've taken 5 previous Atlanta Hawks jerseys and put them in a blender, and here they are.
Right,
and
take like the best elements from each iteration of the jersey and make it into one.
Yeah, so, and I sneakily wonder if the Hawks are going to try to embrace light blue as a color scheme, which I would like. We don't have as many teams anymore. Some teams that used to be light blue have gone away from it. So I think step in, take that opportunity, Hawks, because we don't need another red and black team.
No, oh my God.
We really don't.
Nope.
Okay, that's a fun pick. What I will be picking now for the number 5 pick is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, very nice. I had them at 5 on my list as well.
Hey, so this one, I think it's just like a straight up old jersey that they used to rock. I don't even know. I'm not well versed enough to know if there's any distinct changes, but I know that this is I want to say this was like when they first moved to their new arena in the 80s. But there's like this old Sixers logo. There's rainbow paneling down the side, like a red, orange, green, and blue block. And I think in like one of their old logos, it was like this in a circle or something like that, and it's this old school font that kind of looks like, if you know the font Bauhaus or Bayhouse or whatever, it's like a Microsoft Word font sometimes called like Bayhouse 93 or something.
I love it. To me, that's very 70s, like disco era, like Studio 54 super disco type of font, and I love that. I'm such a sucker for that font.
I think it's really good. I'm sad that these leaks don't have like what the numbers will look like. So what we're looking at is just like the font. So like sometimes the numbers can make or break it.
For sure.
But I think this looks really cool. And again, I think similar to the Jazz one, this is just like the Sixers could just start wearing these and it would be cool. And I like it. I think it's clean. And I'm pretty sure recently I think they did this as one of their City Edition jerseys or retro jerseys, but it was like the dark blue version. And now this is the white version. And I just think it looks good. I think it looks really clean. I love rainbow on a jersey. Those Nuggets rainbow jerseys are always fun. So I like it a lot. It's a good jersey.
Yeah. It just occurred to me now, but the kind of like blocks of color down the left side, it reminds me of that game Simon Says. Did you ever have that game?
Oh, the 4 Simon
like smack
Yeah, gosh, a stressful game to play as a kid.
Very stressful, no doubt about it. A lot of stressful
especially
games.
the pressure.
Operation. What are we doing to people?
Don't wake daddy. Oh my God,
that's
nightmare fuel.
Yeah. My next pick is going to be the Detroit Pistons. I can't resist a cream colored off-white jersey. I'm a real sucker for it.
Yeah.
This one doesn't necessarily scream Detroit Pistons aesthetically, but it's very crispy.
Well, it does if you know the history. Apparently, when the Bad Boy Pistons were around, they had shirts that said I think it said Bad Boys in this font.
Okay, so that's the font. To do this. Okay, I've seen that shirt before,
they did this last year, and they just either said Detroit or Pistons, and it was like, I was like, this is weird, and then I looked it up, and they were just like black and gray, and their court was like this too, and it was like, this would be cool if you did something more fun with it, and now they've done something more fun with it.
Well, to honor the current team, instead of Bad Boys, they should have just written Bad.
Bad?
Yeah.
Bad, period, boys.
So that's good to know. Yeah, I was going to say, like cream colored with Pistons written diagonally across the chest in a funky looking font that's like a hybrid of print and cursive all at once. It doesn't necessarily scream like the history of the Pistons, but I also think, and maybe this is a stretch, that that's not such a bad thing, because I feel like the current Pistons are always kind of like under the shadow of the great Pistons teams of the late 80s and even like the Chauncey Billups 2004 team. And I like this attempt to kind of forge a different path, because frankly, it can only go uphill for Detroit at this point.
Yeah, I think the cream black and like strong orange is a really good retro feeling color scheme. And it also kind of just feels like this should be on a car. And that makes sense for the Pistons being, the team name and also what it means to Detroit. So I think it's great. I really do like this jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, what I will be picking for my next jersey, I just want to make sure I'm going to cycle through. Yeah, okay, I am going to do this one. There's some that I'm like pretty close on, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That was number 7 on my list. We're pretty aligned on a lot of these.
So this one is a light blue jersey with some cool like white piping down the side that has like a mashup of all old Cavalier logos, which I think is fun in like a collage setting. And it says the land in the center in like what I would say again is kind of like a late 70s, early 80s font. It's got like the rings in it. It almost looks like grooves in a record player, which I think would make sense for Cleveland with having the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and everything. Sure. But it's just like it's a pretty simple design, but I think it's just very clean with the crisp light blue and white. That's always a really good combo. I think by having the like more fun stuff going down the side, it lets you have a little bit of that fun. And again, I like when we're taking the history and bringing them into these, and it's doing it in a way that's fun, but not like distracting if it was like the pattern down the center of it.
Right.
I just think it looks really clean. And again, I'm just a sucker for baby blue on an NBA jersey.
Same.
I think it always looks good. And I think these jerseys are
Forget
fresh.
NBA, any jersey. Like the UNC Tar Heels is like one of the most iconic jerseys in sports.
The Phillies when they have those light blue and maroon ones,
sure.
Baseball Reference, like that's good. And also just like, again, this like contrasting with what the Cleveland Cavaliers are currently wearing with like the wine and the gold, like this just looks very different. So when they wear them, it's like, oh, whoa, the different jerseys. And I think the Hawks have that similar effect. The Pistons looks very different than their red, white, and blue jerseys.
Yep.
So for a City Edition jersey to look very different from the other ones, I think is fun. And on the flip side, there's some that I have ranked lower, like the Charlotte jersey, where I'm like, is that not their jersey already? Like there's some that look just very, very similar. So I like this Cavs one.
I'm with that. That's a good pick. My next pick is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. Now,
keeping it going with their they had like a name for it, like whatever the bones or whatever, the voodoo jerseys. Yeah, it's another edition of the voodoo jerseys.
Nothing that interesting about the color scheme, but like
so many green is still sick.
Sure. And so many of these jerseys there's like nothing going on in terms of a pattern. And in this case, we've got like cross-hatched bones.
Well, it's herringbone. It's herringbone made out of bones.
Ah, herringbone. The bones are their money. The money is used as bones. That's I think you should leave reference. But yeah, I just like the creativity of it. Obviously, the nod to like the famous voodoo culture of New Orleans and it being kind of like spooky and fun and all that. And yeah, it looks, because from a distance, it just looks like kind of a fun like triangle up and down zigzag pattern. But then when you look closely, there's more to it, and I'm a fan.
Yeah, I had them right behind the Cavs because I just think the herringbone is, it's just that alone is like, okay, these are sick. Honestly, I should have picked them higher now that I'm thinking about it. These are fresh. These are really good.
Yeah, they're nice.
I like these a lot. I should have had them higher. I should have picked them instead of the Jazz. I just really want the Jazz to change their thing, but I like these a lot. They're really good. The herringbone bone is so sick. So shout out to the Pelicans there. Okay, for my number 9 pick in the draft, I will be going with the I'm going to make sure because I want to double check. But no, yeah, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this is a fun version of something that they've like kind of been doing recently where they're trying to embrace like this blue more into their color scheme. It's always been like their third accent color. It's like sometimes the border on their jerseys, the border around the out of bounds line on their court. And they've been using this color more and more kind of as these are our alternate jerseys. And I kind of respect their commitment to that. And I think
they're great. I had them at number 10, so I'm right there with you.
Okay, nice. I think the particular shape is intentional. Like I want to say it's like the outline of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's like something to do with either like the top part of Wisconsin or maybe like the city itself. But it's definitely intentional. It's not just like a random zigzag for no reason.
They have utilized
it's a gerrymandering jersey.
We'll have to see. I love one of my favorite things, and we should do this maybe just as like a bonus episode on the Patreon. Just like when all the teams put out like the things where it's like, we chose this color because it means this, and we chose this shape. Like those are so fun because they're so stupid, but so sometimes interesting. I don't know exactly what the meaning is, but I know it does have meaning. But I just think it looks good. The blue and the cream is nice, and I like their commitment to being like, this is what our city jerseys look like. And I wish more teams did that. Like I wish the Heat would have just stuck with the Miami Vice. Like that was the first thing they did, and they should have just done Vice forever. I think the Heat one might be my number 30th. Like it's so
the Heat one is my 30th.
Okay, yeah, so it's gonna go 30th because it's the bottom for me too.
The only beef that I have with the Bucks one is that like Bucks is written in such a boring font. Like I feel like they could have done something more.
But it's like it is their official font, so like I can't fault them for not using it. I at least appreciate, and I the Bucks are doing this, and I wish more teams did. Like one of the shames with City Edition jerseys changing every single year is that we're gonna lose out on like, jerseys reminding us of players. Like now it's only jerseys will remind us of seasons, which is kind of cool. Like I will always associate the Knicks blue pinstripe ones with that Dante DiVincenzo game winner because I'll be like, that's the season when we beat the Sixers in the first round. But
that's true.
I think like when things change so wildly, you're going to kind of lose it. But the Bucks like at least would be like, oh yeah, for 10 years they had these blue jerseys as their city jerseys. So
my next pick is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies one is fun.
So while bright red is not necessarily a color that you would associate with the Grizzlies, as a Bulls fan, I'm obviously somewhat partial to red. And I'm also a total sucker for anything that looks like an ABA jersey, which is exactly what these look like to me.
Well, that's funny you say it. It's because of the Memphis hustle.
There you go. Yeah, I like intentionally did not even look into it because I wanted to just be like, I'm going to look at these and say how I feel.
You have described exactly what it is.
There you go. Yeah, I also really like a V-neck jersey as opposed to a swoop neck or scoop neck or whatever you would say. So there's a decent number of these that are V-neck as opposed to the more traditional jersey look. But this jersey features Memphis written in a fun retro cursive font diagonally across the chest with a multicolored outline of the neck and sleeves that makes for a really swaggy look, and I was a fan.
Yeah, the only reason I had these a little bit lower is this is just a me problem. Red and light blue sets off my color blindness. So when I look at these, it kind of hurts my eyes.
It looks blurry, right? Like it's like
hard to read. Yes, it looks blurry.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know it's just a colorblind thing, but these I knocked down a little bit because I was just like, it's hard for me to look at it. Yeah.
It's not inclusive. It's a non-inclusive jersey.
Yes, come on. Look, think of us. Okay, what I will be picking for my number 11 pick, I'm trying not to be a homer here, but I'm going to pick the New York Knicks jersey.
Okay.
I think it is just a worse version of the one we had last year because it is just the flip of the color. So last year we had these blue ones with the black pinstripes and then this like New York offset. So as to go with the New York thing. So it kind of is like a more extended drop shadow, which when the jerseys first were released, everyone's like, this looks weird. But then like on the actual physical jerseys as opposed to a 3D image, it looks very good. And on the court, it looks very good. So this one is just, it's white with, I think like very subtle, it looks just like gray pinstripes. And then it's got blue down the side with like orange outlines everywhere. And then what I think is always cool with our city jerseys is the Nike logo has an NYC.
I like that a lot.
Because that is one of the official Nike logos. And for other ones where it makes sense, like the Hornets always have a Jordan brand logo because Jordan owned the team. So I think it looks good. I think it's a step down from last year's, but I still think it's a fun design, and I'm glad that we're kind of keeping that in because these pinstripe jerseys now remind me of like the Jalen Brunson ascension era since like last season was when he exploded, and that's when these jerseys came around. So nostalgically, I like that this is sticking around. It would be cool if like next year we do a black one, and then maybe the year after we do an orange one. So like I think we should stick with these New York pinstripe ones. So I like it. Could have been better, mainly if they just ran the other one back, but I still think it looks good. I think this one will also benefit with the number on it, because I think that will, with the blue and the orange, it'll make it look less bland.
I had them in the top half of my list. I had them at 14 because of that exact thing, which is like, this is a cool way to not change the foundation of like how a Knicks jersey should look, but also do something that's like a little different and interesting. So yeah, I thought it was a perfectly nice jersey.
Some people might not know the font that they've used for it. I think it's like the font that is usually the names on the back of our jerseys. So like it is like a Knicks font, but not necessarily like the Knicks font that's on our chest. So it at least like thematically has a home.
Yeah. My next pick is going to be the Portland Trailblazers. I got Rip City in the house. Yes, and this may be a surprise because I think I'm someone who definitely, and I think you are like this as well, like I tend to prefer bright and sometimes even loud color schemes for myself and in general, but there's something very satisfying about making black interesting, and that's exactly what I feel Portland has done with this one. So they have Rip City written across the chest diagonally in a similar logo to one that they've used in the past, but then the jersey features these little squares comprised of circles, almost like tiny speakers all over the jerseys. I don't know if you know the significance of that, but I just thought the effect of it was, it's like looking at like a boombox from far away almost. And I like it.
Yeah, I'd have to wait. I think what they're doing is there was a plaid is like a thing for the Trailblazers. I don't know. I think it was a coach.
Yes, it was Jack Brickhouse, I think.
Yeah, he would always wear these like different plaid like
or Dr.
blazers,
Jack Ramsey or one of those people. Yeah, someone like that.
He would wear like plaid blazers. Physical coat blazers.
Yeah. Jack Brickhouse is an unintentional baseball reference. Sorry.
And they've done that for some of these city jerseys because I think he passed recently and they had like a patch. Yes. Speaking of someone passing in patches, the Blazers confirmed that they're going to wear a Bill Walton patch and it's tie-dye. Like it's going to be a little tie-dye thin rectangle
and
32.
If they do that on these jerseys, that's really going to pop on a black jersey.
Yeah.
So I like that too.
I love that they're doing that. So yeah, I think they've done like cooler versions of the plaid, but this is like definitely more interesting.
Or when they did the PDX
jerseys.
Airport carpet nod, that was pretty great.
I fucking love that, man.
That was cool.
That's sick. Like, that's cool. The one thing I will give credit to teams doing it this year, it's funny because last year I feel like all of them were black. This year, like half of them are white. So it feels like a lot of the teams that had a boring black jersey this year just have a boring white jersey this year.
Right.
But yeah, this is definitely a more interesting black jersey. Okay, with the 13th pick, I am going to go with the Houston Rockets.
Okay.
I think this one is like, it's what I like in theory, but it's not perfect. But this is kind of like a modernization of the font that they used in the Hakeem era. So they've taken that Hakeem era font, which had Houston, which I always think was fun because they like switched up, like some of the letters are capital and some are lowercase, and I think it looks fun. And they've now done it in like the current Rockets colors of white, red, and black. And I think what I really like is it's just red. It says H-Town, and it's red with like a black drop shadow. It like really pops. Whatever they've done with the shadow effect, the H-Town like almost looks like it's three-dimensional. It's because they've done like a gradient outward, so it's not just like black behind it, but it's like black that fades into gray that then fades into white. Like it really stands out. I think this one will also look cool.
Looking at it though, I don't know, looking at it like at the size that it is, it doesn't really pop because it all looks kind of like mushed together. But I think when you actually look at it like how it would look as a jersey, it definitely does.
And I also think with the numbers, this will look really cool because I think they'll have the same effect. What's also fun is a lot of these jerseys have something in like the bottom left corner above the tag, and sometimes it's thematic things. So this one has a signature of Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, and it says "Believe It Again," which I believe is the broadcast call when they won their second title. Cool. So that's just like a cool, clearly intentional nod to those great 90s teams. I guess because, the 24-25 team would now be celebrating their 30th anniversary of winning the championship.
Gosh,
so I guess they're going to do something about that. Yeah, dude.
I watched that.
So I think this looks pretty cool. And again, I think with the numbers, this will look a lot better and less like just a plain white jersey. I just think that shadow effect rips.
And that was number 13 for you?
That was the number 13.
I had them at exactly 13.
We are very in line. I like this.
Yeah. So far, literally only the Jazz pick has been like a big difference, but everything else we're right there. Now let's see how you feel about this one, because I feel like this one might be controversial. My next pick is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, I had this quite low.
Okay.
I hate this. This looks like an 8th grader made it in Microsoft Word.
Fair critique. But again, I was rewarding teams for trying, and this is my take on it.
True.
Right? I feel like this
it is
one,
a color.
It was very divisive. It's colors. But
I'm so sorry.
I
It's a gradient.
appreciate the Lakers taking a chance. Like a lot of times with historic franchises like the Lakers, you see very, very, very conservative city edition jerseys in the same way that like the Yankees just don't want to participate in stuff like this because like we're the Yankees and we have to be very prim and proper. This one though features a gradient, like monochromatic color scheme that definitely sets itself apart from the other jerseys just in that way in and of itself, as well as Lake Show written in the iconic Lakers font. I don't know if that's like a reference to The Late Show or it's just like the thing that people say, but I appreciate the effort.
I think that's what the joke was, but I think when they were the Showtime Lakers, people called them the Lake Show. I think it is a Late Show reference, but yeah, I just think it's like, I think there could be more going on. I wish there was like some sort of design. Like there's even nothing down the side. Like give me something is why I had it kind of low. But I don't hate it. And at least you're right. At least it's like something. There's a lot of like white jerseys. So at least it's something.
Yeah. Where did you have that? How did you have them ranked, like in the 20s or something? Or
I had them in the low 20s. I kind of just put these into like clumps because I wanted to like see where things had gone. Sure. But they were in my fourth tier of 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
So for my next pick, which is going to be the 15th overall, I am going to go with the Denver Nuggets. So the Denver Nuggets, it's this one. I had this one intentionally at 15.
I had them at 16.
Just like, it was just like, you're kind of doing stuff. I don't like it, but I like parts of it. So this is them. What they've been doing with a lot of these city jerseys and some of their main jerseys recently is like trying to reincorporate the rainbow of the past jerseys, but like more subtly, which kind of a little feels like, oh yeah, it's a rainbow, but it's not gay, which is like, just do the rainbow. Like, come on, guys.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
I don't think it has to do with that, but it feels like they're not fully embracing the rainbow. It's like how the Spurs have been like kind of doing Fiesta. Like, bring me the full
You
rainbow,
want them to taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. Don't give me a taste of the rainbow.
Right.
Taste the rainbow. But this one is, again, it's like their 5280 thing, which is like their elevation of the city.
That's my least favorite part. I hate that.
That's what makes me dock it, is like it's got this behind the numbers, like in a mountain shape. I'm assuming the actual jersey numbers will have like something similar going on too. I think the jersey numbers, given how the shape goes, I think the jersey numbers will be like completely covered in the rainbow mountainy thing. And it's like a heat map thing. So like what the Predator sees, it's like heat vision-y version of the rainbow, which I think that's really cool. Like that's a fun way to do rainbow.
I just don't like 2 sets of numbers on the front of a jersey. It looks so
weird. That's the reason I docked it. Like if this said Nuggets and then had the number and it was
or Mile High or some just words. Right. Give me words.
Exactly. If it's words, this is a top 5 jersey for me. But the number thing is kind of frustrating. I need them to do something where it's not just numbers and numbers. So it's going to look kind of weird. But also down the side, they have like the mountain drop of what it looks like looking at not the skyline, but like the mountain line of Denver. And it's in that like rainbow heat map thing. I just think rainbow heat map is very cool. And I like that they did it. But the 5280 is why this is just like a medium jersey for me as opposed to a top 10.
I'm thinking a couple things. First is that how cool would it be if they did a reverse where like they had the 5280, but then they wrote out the number like you would on a check?
Oh,
I'm really
like
aging
35,
myself. Yeah,
15.
But like 35. And then on the back, it would still be the name and the actual number so that the refs could see it.
Call the Nuggets. I'm
telling you, man, that would be
so
pretty
smart.
Sweet. Because then it would look more normal, but like in a weird way, and it would just be fun.
God, that would look so cool.
Yeah, I think that could be.
I thought you were saying, what if the whole jersey was the rainbow heat map and then the numbers were white, which would also look really cool.
Sure.
Like as a full pattern, but you're right. That rips. They should do that. Yeah. That's cool.
I agree. I would prefer like the full vibrant rainbow because really what this jersey is referencing is the jerseys that, may he rest in peace, Dikembe Mutombo made famous. Like when I think of that super, super bright like 90s Nuggets jersey, I think of like Dikembe Mutombo, Robert Pack, Muhammad Abdul-Rauf, like all those guys who were just
Alex
like,
English.
Part of LaFonso Ellis, part of those like those early Nuggets teams that famously upset the Giants, the Supersonics in the mid 90s, which is like one of the iconic Mutombo images. So, all right, that was a good pick.
And we're now into the second half. I think we're going to start going quicker because they're more boring.
There was a whole, like the final 10 to me, it was just like,
it's like,
I didn't want to pick any of them.
Yeah.
My next pick is going to be the Indiana Pacers. I will say... Oh,
wow. I had this pretty low.
Okay. Now, this is one where it was hard for me to not remember that, like, this is basically what they've done a bunch of different times. But in the same way that I'm a sucker for 70s lettering and, like, ABA-ass jerseys, I also really do like the 90s-inspired neon stuff. And the Pacers, so they got into the top half of my draft with this jersey because... to me, it was like an Andy Warhol-esque pop art bubble letter version of indie written across the chest. And then the color scheme is like a neon paint splatter. It's like very Nickelodeon mid-90s, but just the fun part and not the incredibly disturbing
firing
part.
Up word art in 2002 is how it feels to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks...
I don't hate it. This is definitely better than the last year's. The white is better because it's less like, wah, where the other one was in like color and it was a little too much. This is an improved version. I think it's the opposite of the Knicks thing I described.
Fair enough. All right, what do you got next?
17, I'm going to go with the Clippers. It's a pretty simple one. It's just like light blue with black accents and it says Clips, which is like their new like alternate thing. They introduced this like last year. But I just think it's clean. This particular light blue, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a nice light, I don't know if it's like cerulean or like a dark periwinkle. Yeah, it's like a periwinkle with a less purple. It's just like a solid like middle of the pack light blue that is like more muted and matte and looks really good with black accents. And I just think it's clean. I love that they've dotted the I with a basketball. And then they have a bunch of different basketballs like above the thing. It's got like on the bottom left, it's got like a flower. Last year they had like a flower with this in their city jersey. I just think it's fun and it looks very different from their new branding, which is very much like, we're boats and they're gonna kill you. And this one's like, we're also the Clips. And I just think it looks nice, simple, clean.
All right, we're going to stay in California for my next pick. I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors, partially because they didn't have a weird diarrhea-esque flower on it, so I enjoyed
that. Was
that.
Strange.
And also because I think this is one where it's going to look really cool with the number. Like, I was imagining it in my mind because the way it's formatted is that Golden State is written on the front in a circle, basically. So it says like golden in like an up-facing arch and then state in a downward-facing arch.
Like it makes a circle.
Exactly, presumably with the number in the middle. And it's not anything spectacular, but it's like very crisp looking. And sometimes the way I judge it is like I picture the most famous person they have wearing it, and like Steph Curry's going to look pretty fly in this jersey.
I think this one, I wouldn't be surprised. It looks familiar to me, and I lived in the area for 7 months. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out there like, oh yeah, the trolley used to look like this, or something. Like, it feels, because the font looks like old school, like early 90s, or not early 90s, early 1900s, like 1930s, like flappery kind of stuff. I wonder if it's going to come out, and they've this like gold and then like bright red piping. I'm intrigued whenever they say like what the inspiration is. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like something in the city used to look like that. And then I think it's pretty high. So I think it's a good one. I like this a lot. This would jump higher for me if I knew what it meant. But right now I just like think it means something and I'm not positive. So for my pick next, which is going to be 19, I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets just because they're doing something. I don't think it looks great. They've done like a similar thing. I think it's like Basquiat inspired, which they've done for like the past couple of years. It's like a collage-y kind of Brooklyn thing with like a pattern in the background. I think it's a better version of what they did last year, where like last year they incorporated like some light blue and some red and it looked very distracting. This one's just all grayscale with the black and gray. And I don't think it's like amazing, but I think it like is at least fun and they did something. And I think it's an improvement from the previous one. I think they could have brought some color in like around maybe like the sleeves and the collar or like the lining outside of the word Brooklyn instead of being black. Oh no, they do. I'm zooming in now and they do have it. It's like around the lettering. It's like red around BR, teal around OO, purple around KLY, and then red around the second half of the Y in the end. Okay, never mind. I feel great about this pick.
Which number pick was that for you? 19?
19.
I had them at exactly 19 again.
Cool. So yeah, and maybe the numbers will look cool too, but like I like it. I it's not like amazing, but the rest of them are boring.
No, I don't understand why the Brooklyn Nets are so dead set on everything about them being black and slate gray. Like the entire color scheme of this jersey is 50 shades of gray, and I don't feel like it needs to be.
The problem is like they tried it with the color last year and it looked distracting. Like it just didn't look like a jersey.
I guess so.
I think they should have. I like that they did it around the letters. I think they also should have done it on the sleeves and the collar, and then I would have been really hyped about it.
But I'm exact same take as you. I was like, they tried. They did something that was better than nothing. My next pick is going to be who we think might be one of the best teams in the league, the OKC Thunder, Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I feel like,
all right.
Yeah, I feel like black is like the most boring possible color choice for these jerseys. But the Thunder at least incorporated a lot of other colors that pop in this particular jersey. Oklahoma's written across the chest in the standard font, but it's got like, I think that's like yellow and red trim, if I'm seeing that properly.
Yeah, it's like a dark orange, which they've used in their color scheme before.
Yeah, and like the rust red because Oklahoma. And then the side, I couldn't tell how I felt about this. The side features like their other colors, which is like a blue and black geometrical pattern thing. It doesn't really match the rest of the jersey, but I like that they're trying to incorporate a lot of different elements. So like,
I think it would have been better if it was just a solid blue thing instead of the weird collage or like a normal pattern, like stripes or something.
Yeah, I think there's a case to be made for that, but
yeah,
that's my pick.
For 21, I'm going to go with the Suns.
Hey, that was my next pick that I haven't picked.
Hey, they've done another The Valley thing, but it's very much like a old Western put 'em up partner font. Like it looks very Western-y. I like whatever, it's hard to tell from the image, but what they've done down the side looks very like Arizona heritage type pattern. I don't know if there's like particular meaning or if it's just vibes. I like it. It's like kind of simple. I'm sure this big star has some sort of meaning.
It does look like what a sheriff would wear if they played basketball.
Right. So I think it's fine. Like at least the colors pop. I think it could have done with a little bit more excitement, but I think it still looks fine.
Yeah, the side column I think does give it like a little more pizzazz, so I don't have a problem with it. My next pick, it's only fitting since you picked the Knicks. I'm gonna go with the Bulls. I don't like the jersey, but we're into the pretty bad jerseys at this point.
Yeah,
I'm choosing them not because I like the jersey, but because it perfectly represents the state of the franchise at the moment. Does it resemble anything from the time of the Bulls' dominance and greatness? It does not. This is the Zach LaVine of jerseys. It's not like bad, but it's definitely not good enough to move the needle in any direction. Bulls is written across the chest in black and red, as you would expect, but then the accent colors are a surprising, like, cream color, apparently in honor of how frequently the Bulls are going to get creamed by their opponents this season. A 90s insult that always sounded more sexual than I was comfortable with. But the real shame here is that the Chicago flag is, like, one of the coolest city flags ever, and the only slight nod to it is the stars on the side of the jersey, which feels like an afterthought.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to pick Charlotte Hornets at 22. I think it's good, but as I referenced earlier, like they've kind of done this a lot, and I know we're not trying to like penalize the past things, but like it just feels it's so similar to other jerseys. It's just mint instead of teal, which is close, and like it still like looks fine, but it's just kind of like whatever. And then in the side they have like CLT, and then the outline of it looks like someone's head. I'm not sure whose head it is, but because I think that what their inspiration with this is like it's the mint jerseys, because I think the like national mint is in Charlotte, so I think that's probably why they put someone. Oh, I don't know. There's
Bank of America's in Charlotte.
There's something financially related because like before that's what they called it. There was like the minted jerseys. So I think that's the outline of someone's head probably to look like it's like a coin or a dollar. I think it's fine. I just feel like it's not like different enough from the other jerseys. I'm just like, all right.
I also like that it is the only jersey because of the ownership group that has the Jordan logo instead of the Nike logo. Everything else has Nike and this one has Jordan. I also think because everybody was like getting on them for the CLT jersey, which if you read it quickly looks like something else. But in this case, and I'm sure this wasn't intentional, but I think it's very funny that they still include it, but it's like on the bottom left side of the jersey, an extremely small font, predictably making the clit pretty hard to find. Credit to them.
All right, what do you got for 24?
For 24, I have the Dallas Mavericks, another jersey that I don't like. But I again give them credit for trying.
We're at 24.
It was a swing and a miss for me, but the old school Mavs font, I feel like they like just keep using that. And
they did it last year. I think it's
maybe
the
it's just
second time.
last year, but
I think it's just last year.
It looks like the font from the TV show Dallas, which maybe is
I think
what the
that is
reference
intentionally
right?
what it is.
Yeah.
It's like based off of a musician from Dallas from back in the day.
Okay.
And he used that font in like album art or something,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
The other thing is that like there's a kind of like a floral pattern running up and
It's
down
like
the
paisley
side.
looking down the side.
Yeah.
It would be cool if this wasn't just white and gray.
Right. That's the thing. It's like it would be, if you're going to use a floral pattern, why not have there be some color involved? So
Right.
yeah, it was like it at least isn't just a generic Mavs jersey, but it wasn't doing a lot for me. But again, we're at the dregs at this point.
We're at the dregs. Yeah. For 25, I'm picking the Kings. This one, it's in honor of like 100 years of them being the Sacramento Royals, or what? Or not? They're not Sacramento, but like
Monarchs
before the
no
Sacramento
Monarchs
Kings.
were the women's
They were
team.
the something,
Were they?
the rich. I think they were the Richmond Royals to start, and then they like moved around. But it's like the 100-year, so they're using their old jerseys. So I like that they're doing that. I just think these jerseys are boring. Like
So boring. It's a big
get
old
what,
nothing
Yeah,
burger.
like I get what you're doing, and you can't like really fault it. But like I guess I would have appreciated more of like a modern. And maybe this is
Light
that?
the beam, some sort of beam related thing. Like, why not do something?
Sure, or just like a hybridization. And I think they did do this in City jerseys past, where they were like, it's the new and the old. This is just like straight up like hardwood classics to me. So like, it's fine. It's not ugly, but I'm just like, all right. I know what they're doing though.
Yeah, I mean, and I love how aligned we are, because like the only remaining teams I have left are teams that like neither of us have said yet, and we're both right.
Yes.
My next pick is going to be the Boston Celtics. I'm
Yeah, dude,
begrudgingly
these
picking
suck.
them because much like the Lakers, they could have done nothing, and they at least did
Right.
something, even though it didn't work. It's what looks like kind of like a deep forest green to me, with then like
is
a
it not
lighter.
black?
It might be black. I thought it was
yeah.
like a dark,
I
like
think
a
it's-
super dark shade of green.
I
can't
think
tell.
I think it's black, because if you zoom in and you look underneath the armpit, it goes like black and then dark green and then light green.
Okay,
So
well,
I
I'm
think,
wrong.
and then
but
you look at
the
'cause you
accent
can look
colors
down the
are
side,
like-
and there's like a zigzag, and one
Right.
is a dark green zig and one is a light green zig. So I think the jersey's black.
but the main color that like has the Celtics font is in like a lighter green than what they usually use, which is like your standard
Yes.
Kelly green. So I at least give them credit for like doing something a little bit outside of the ordinary, but it's a pretty bad jersey.
Mm-hmm. I am going to go for my next pick. I will pick the Washington Wizards. They've got, it's a like the white version of what they did last year, which is supposed to be like inspired by statues and stuff. It's like,
I hate it. That was my second. to
yeah,
last.
it was for me. I mean, we agree on the last pick with the Heat one, and it was just like this or the Magic, and the Magic one I docked it just because like it kind of looks like their other jerseys. At least this thing looks different than
Right.
their normal jersey, so it's at least something. And the old school font, like it does kind of look like medieval times. I mean, I'm arguing of why I picked them 27th. Like it
Well,
sucks.
here's
It's
the
a
thing,
bad
though, like-
jersey. I just gave them the edge over the Magic because. Like the Magic looks like so many other jerseys.
The reason I really didn't like it though, and maybe I'm like misinterpreting the font, like it looks a lot like the Clippers jerseys from a year or two ago. And that's confusing to me because it seems like Washington was like, why don't we go with the clearly West Coast chop shop Compton style font for our team
I
that
see what
plays
you're
in one of
saying.
the easternmost cities in the US? Like,
yeah,
it's just, it's weird. I do like the marble coloring though of the neck.
Yeah, that's it. Like that was it. Was of the four that are left, this was at least they did something, and I'll share my feelings on the remaining ones that I all really didn't like.
All right, for my second to last pick, going with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I swear we've already seen this jersey a million other times, but the T-Wolves just cannot stop writing Minnesota in the smallest possible font with what appears to be an early 2000s screensaver behind it. Like, I really don't know what to say other than I don't know what they're trying to do here. The white and light blue and navy blue color scheme, assuming I have that right, like it all looks perfectly fine together, but like, God, this thing is dull.
It's similar to the one they did last year. I think last year was the first time they did it, but it was like, to me, it looks like a Brita ad. Like, it just looks like, it's supposed to be Land of a Thousand Lakes theme, so it's supposed to look like water, but it's this weird, like, photorealistic water. And it looked, I think, bad on the other one because it was, like, more blue. This one's more white, but I just still don't think it looks good. It doesn't look like a jersey. It looks like the banner of, like, a Facebook page. It just looks weird.
Yeah,
and
or
I
like a
think
skincare product.
Yeah, the contrast of the dark around the sleeves with the white sleeves makes it look so weird. Like it just doesn't flow. I really don't like it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, for 29, I've already kind of talked about it, but it's the Orlando Magic. These look like Dallas Cowboy jerseys. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the font. Like, it looks like a Western Texas font. Why is it for the Orlando Magic?
Every year, all I ask is for them to bring back some version of like the 90s Penny and Shaq jerseys.
So I think they actually are wearing those this year. I think it's
God.
separate. I think they're actually wearing those as a separate thing.
This looks like an AI-generated jersey.
I just don't get it. Like, it's just weird. It's bland. The A for the star feels out of place. It really looks Texan to me, and I don't get why it's Orlando. Then they have like this, like, I think it's like chainmailer it's supposed to be, like in the middle, like on the, I don't know. They've described this because it's just a white version of the one they did last year, which I also didn't like. There's no color. Like, it's just like black and gray, I think.
Yeah.
If anything, it's a really dark navy. I think maybe really
I
dark
am
navy.
not a fan.
I don't like it. It's so boring. And again, it's so similar to their other jerseys where it's like,
right.
What are we doing?
All right, time to round this out with the pick that was the consensus worst jersey, which is amazing because a few years ago they had the objective best jersey of the bunch.
How high the mighty have fallen down.
What a fall from grace from the iconic Miami Vice style jerseys to whatever the hell this is. First of all, it's a plain red jersey with black lettering. Next, and more importantly, heat culture is not a thing that anyone acknowledges, and it's certainly not a thing to put on a jersey. Like, to be clear, I love Eric Spoelstra. I think he's an amazing coach. But as I understand it, heat culture is just leaving in the fourth quarter of an NBA Finals game to beat traffic in your all-white outfit. So just go with pink and black every year and cursive and Miami Vice and stop trying to make heat culture a thing. It's like when people like are like a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. They're like, Pirates Nation. Like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
No one feels that way.
Like, people do say heat culture, but it's a weird thing to put on a jersey.
Yeah.
Like, it would be like if the Yankees put like pinstripe pride or something on a jersey where it's like, this is a thing that people say about your team, but like not enough to where it should be on a jersey. Someone once described it as like, it looks like a bootleg jersey someone sells at a Kohl's. And you're like, yeah, like it just doesn't look right. What's also bad about this one, it's purely red. Even the piping down the side, which is like a different material, also in red, they just have a thin black outline only on some parts of the sleeve and the collar.
Right. And also like black on red does not pop. At least do white lettering because the Nike logo is white, but then the font is black.
Yeah, like they could have outlined stuff more with white to give it a bit of a pop. There's something I can't tell because the image isn't high resolution enough near the like patch on the bottom left that probably has some BS about the like hardest working, like they had that written on the court, which is a quote that Pat Riley said about the Knicks. It makes me so angry that they're crediting
Stolen
this quote
valor.
that he said. He said it about the New York Knicks. Like, what are you doing? I get it's the same guy, but he was not talking about your team. I think he said it again about his team, but like he first said it about the Knicks. So yeah, easily the worst jersey. It sucks. It's hideous. Heat culture is stupid. And it's just, there is no design. It is red with black lettering. There's nothing. So last place, no question.
It feels like whoever they hired forgot about it. And then with 5 minutes before the deadline was like, oh, fuck.
It seems like, they did it. And then they were like, oh, let me just save my progress and I'll update it later. And then the deadline passed. And they were like, oh, I guess they're just red.
And that's heat culture for you.
Heat culture, baby. So that is hardest working team, not hardest working design department.
Exactly.
So that's the end of this little draft here. I'm going to turn off the Zoom here. Thank you, Zoom people. And by Zoom people, I mean thank you, patrons, for watching. But that is going to Zoom people. Thank you so much for watching if you're on Patreon. And thank you for listening if you're listening. And that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. What a fun draft. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse. Horse is hosted by Adam Amawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor is Kenzie Saramaki. The music is by Bettina Kapamanas. The art's by Allison Wakeman. The website's by Kelly Schubert. And the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burridge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed, Steph Curry for $62.6 million.
Bang! In a nicer looking jersey.
Hi, Trish, Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, and Mats Furley. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
the person running the Horse Hoops account worked for the Heat design department.
I knew it.
Yeah, come on.
They should be shunned, rightfully so. You can go to our website, horsehoops.com, for, unfortunately, photos of that very jersey. and some other fun videos, including Vince Carter getting all emotional about getting that jersey retired.
And if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can go to patreon.com/horsehoops. You can get bonus audio. You can see the video that we referenced in this episode. There's a bunch of other cool stuff like stickers. And if you want to get some merch, you can go to horsehoops.com/merch. We've got Sup Nerds shirts and digital items, fun stuff all around. I'm going to close this episode out by putting our hands in the middle and saying something on the count of 3. What are we thinking? We could say something in honor of the, here's the thoughts. We either root for something cool to happen in the WNBA playoffs, we hope Zach Lowe gets rehired soon, or we praise Dikembe. Let's praise Dikembe. How about we go no on 3?
I like that. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll praise Deke on 3. 1, 2, 3. No. Not in my house.
Not in my house. Dikembe forever.
Forever.